Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ARN. It's time to talk wrestling. It's time to tell some stories. And it's time to ride with the enforcer himself. I'm Paul Bromwell. And as always, I'm joined by a man who's done it all. He's a Hall of Famer, founder of the Four Horsemen, creator of the Spine Buster, one half of the greatest tag teams in history, our TV champion, my tag team partner. He's the enforcer. He's Double A. Arn Anderson. Arn, my friend, it's great to see you. How you feeling tonight?
Well, I need to ask you that. You had a touch of that flu's going around, didn't you?
Oh man, it's I'm trying to kick out, as they say, to use a wrestling term. But I was down in Orlando last weekend, and a little bit of work, a little bit of fun with the family, and I came back with the souvenir I didn't want: a lot of germs, some sickness, and so I've been feeling a little rough. Problem is, though, I passed it off to the wife, and so now she's dealing with it, and so it's not good, man.
What question, did it hit you there or wait till you got home?
I was starting to experience some of it there, and I thought I was going to be able to overcome it, but I think with a weakened immune system and then just being around all the people, it was just too much to overcome. So by Friday night, I had a fever, chills, and the whole 9 yards, and so I was cooked.
The places of business that I've been to this week, I've noticed people are wearing masks.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere. Everybody I talk to, it's running rampant right now.
And they're saying it's just, a lot of it is just a regular old run-of-the-mill flu.
Yeah.
It's just a bad dose, I guess, this year.
Yeah, so I apologize for a little bit of the nasal. Then Arn and I get on here to start recording the show, and he says, Paul, you sound like you're a monster or something, right?
Either Herman Monster or Dracula or somebody.
So I use a Roadcaster, okay, for my little audio equipment here, and we're just talking real here. And normally it's totally fine. And Arn's like, I can't hear you. And he brings Aaron over, and she's like, I can't, Paul, you sound like distorted. And so I'm thinking, well, is there anything we need to fix on your end? Well, no, I tested out and I sound like a robot. So then it was a whole microphone switch. So guys, between the sickness, between this little mic I'm using now, apologies up front, but we're here to have a good time with all of you. I see super chats already pouring in. Arn, how you been? Because last time we talked, it was a great show with Tully. And we had a lot of views, a lot of great questions. You were about ready to head to Indianapolis. You were just coming off the Saturday night's main event. You then had the big show in Indianapolis. They had the Royal Rumble. How was that for you and Brock? I want to catch up on how some of that was. I want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on the Super Bowl and some other things. So how was Indy for you?
Well, Indy, as usual, was really good. A lot of fans came out from all around. Got to talk to some nice folks. We went to a really nice steakhouse downtown, St. Elmo's. If you're ever in that area, check it out. It's in that really upper crust level. I saw that a lot of the talent were in there from WWE was having a good meal. So it was a good weekend, really was, and got to see a lot of fans from just all around, and good 2 days.
Man, that's great to hear, and I always love to hear that you and Brock have a good 2 days at those conventions. You deserve it, and this is how you make your living now, Arn, at these appearances and going out and being able to say hi to the fans. So really appreciate all of you that come out, make time for the wrestlers and say thank you, and spend some time with them. It means a lot to Arn and Brock, I know, and to all the other veteran wrestlers as well. And you really enjoy yourself too, Arn, getting to see everyone and say thank you to them.
Well, yeah, and I get to bring Smokey, and Aaron always goes with us, and it's a family affair, which is a good thing. Now when I go on the road, it's not I'm leaving everybody behind, which I had so many years of. It's they're going with me, so it's a multitasking weekend.
You were talking about your appearances, so let's talk about some upcoming appearances. I'm going to throw this one up on the screen because this one's coming up this Saturday, February 15th. You're going to be here at in Turtle Lake, Wisconsin, Heart of a Warrior 5 this Saturday. So for those in the area that would like to come out and see Arn, this is an opportunity for them to come out and see you here.
And it's a first. You know how I like firsts. Never been to this area. Really excited about being there. Promoters are real happy with advances. It's going to be a big night, and very, very happy. It's one thing, though. I looked at the Weather Channel, and it's going to be on Saturday like 8 for a high and 5 below or something like that. So that Horseman jacket is going to get some mileage on it this weekend.
Yeah, that North Carolina blood ink isn't used to that.
It's double lined. It's a warm jacket, and this is perfect weather for
it. This time of year too just makes it a little bit more challenging when you're thinking about flying and traveling and things of that nature. But Arn's going to be there. He's going to make sure he's there for that appearance. So definitely check it out. Arn, there's one more appearance I saw. Now this is when it starts to get a little bit warmer in April. I'm going to flash it up on the screen. But you're already being advertised for the Squared Circle Expo, April 25th through the 26th at the Wyndham in Indianapolis. And not only are you going to be there, but also Tully, Barry Windham, J.J. Dillon. So, you know, for those and a lot of the fans of the show that are fans of the Horsemen, this is a great opportunity to meet all of you and be a part of this event.
Well, and Brock's going to be there too.
Oh, great.
And this is one of those deals where, somebody brings up one of those 4-packs of the action figures, which are really nice to be a chance to get them signed. Usually you can get 1 or 2, and you have to wait till another WrestleCon or whatever it may be. And but this time you can get 4 signatures all right there at the same time if you possess those 4-packs.
I don't know yet, but this is one that I'm eyeballing, Arn, thinking about maybe coming out to Indianapolis myself.
You will be, it's the people are so nice. I mean, everything about it is it's just a nice place. It's a sports-minded town. You know, they love wrestling. They've always supported wrestling. And if we get you there on top of that,
I would love it.
You can leave that voice that we heard a little earlier, leave that home with you. Okay?
Leave that at the door.
We won't need that one out in Indy. Thank you.
You can't now listen, you can't make me laugh too much. I'll go into a coughing spell and won't recover. So you can't do that to me.
Well, when you started talking to me there for a minute, I got scared. I went and unsheathed that clock.
You flipped those headphones to Aaron so fast.
Here, hold this. I'm scared of him.
It was funny. Oh man. All right, Arn. So there's your appearances. I want to, before we jump into some other things, what did you think about last night's? I don't even know if you call it a game. It was some domination by the Eagles against the Chiefs last night. What do you think of that?
In the Vietnam War, their soldiers used to put bamboo shoots up under your fingernails for torture. Very similar to what I was feeling last night. It was a rout. There's one thing just to say that is I've never seen happen before. The defense of the Philadelphia Eagles dominated the offense of the Kansas City Chiefs, and that was the difference. All those just the cave in from the pocket and just
Sweat and others, unreal. Josh Sweat.
I mean that quarterback for Kansas City has always been able to scramble out of that. I don't know what they ended up with, 7 or 8 sacks record.
It was unbelievable.
You just got to give the credit where credit's due. It's the defense. They stopped the running back.
Yeah, Saquon, they held him in check, and Jalen Hurts got it done.
They just found another way to win.
Yeah.
And that's what your great teams, when you go back and dissect them, that's what is so true. They found a way to win, and they did.
You got to give credit where credit is due. Jalen Hurts at the end said defense wins championships. It was a well-balanced, well-oiled machine. And man, they got it done last night. It was impressive, and it was unexpected. I think the way they won, not that they won. Okay, cool. There was a chance to win for sure, but the way they did it, my goodness, they manhandled the Chiefs, unlike I've seen anybody manhandle them.
Well, and they let their foot off the pedal right at the end, or it would have been worse than that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we got that. Now, hey, there's one other thing that I wanted to share real quick. And I mentioned that we had Tully on the show the last time, and we announced that he is now going to be part of the video game that's released this year. You and he are now going to be downloadable a tag team as the Brainbusters. So the guys over at the video game were like, Paul, we are going to provide you with a 12x16 for your shop that you can now put on your shop and sell as a 12x16 Hal Haney art. And they right now it's available at 1tsport.com, the number 1tsport.com. You can buy the Ultra Pro Wrestling poster, this 12x16 of Arn and Tully together. Why? Well, why not? You get it. You can have it. It'll be printed for you. You can take it to Indianapolis and have them both sign it and autograph it for you. This is an awesome collectible. And I already got mine. I ordered mine. So it's available right now. Great price. Go head on over to the website. The first time, Arn, you said it, that you're together in a video game, right?
It's the only one of its kind, I believe.
Yeah. So
if I'm not mistaken, I think that's the only one.
So Ultra Pro Wrestling video games are going to be released to be determined, but in 2025. This is available now in our store, so check it out, along with some other great items. Arn, you talked about the Horseman jacket that you're going to be wearing. That's there. We got a nice fleece vest, the crew neck sweatshirt that I'm wearing now, the Horseman. Tully, after he saw this not too long ago, hit me up. He's like, hey, can I get one of these? So he now has this crew neck sweatshirt. I had sent him a picture of one that I found of him wearing this exact sweatshirt, standing in front of the wall with you and him giving an interview with Bob Caudle back in the day. So now he has this in his collection and will be wearing this around. So guys, this is where you can get this merch and as well as the Brainbusters 12x16 and get that autographed. So don't sleep on 1tsport.com to get all the merchandise. The Four Horsemen, officially licensed provider of Four Horsemen gear. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that as well.
And it looks good on you, kiddo. Like the colors.
Thank you so much. I love it. I love representing the Horseman brand and Arn Anderson and Tully and all the guys that are over there on the website. Arn, before we kick off and I start to get into some questions, thank you all. I see the comments rolling in. I see super chats coming in. We're going to get to all of them tonight. We're going to talk about the Nitro era beginning. That's right, Arn. It's September 1995 tonight. And it's all about Nitro kickstarting. I want to ask, how's Brock doing? What's the latest on Brock? Know he's working with MLW. Can you give us an update on how things are going with him?
Well, they were just in Atlanta again at Center Stage a couple days ago, Saturday night, which he has heard all the stories of all the things that went down at Center Stage. I mean, that's where we did a lot of our TVs. You know, that's the infamous setting for Paul and Vader's fight.
Yeah.
He actually found the area, and Eric was there. So he could point out exactly where it went down. There's just a few people that are still around that were privy to, you know, that could tell you, well, it happened right here. And it spilled into right there. So, but anyway, Brock and CW are doing really, really well. They had a lot to do at TV taping. I haven't sat down and watched it with him. Maybe going to do that tomorrow, I hope.
Okay.
Very, very proud of him. And again, thanks to CW for all of his guidance. And thanks for MLW for making it all possible. We're much appreciative to the promotion. And everything's going well. You know, he's getting his reps. AML, giving him reps, you know, once or twice a month. So it's he's getting better, and that's the only way you can do it. Is just get in there and do it.
they were feuding with Paul Walter Hauser and Paul London, and they had a clip. I don't know if you saw it, and Brock was cutting a promo. I don't care who you are, Paul this, Paul that. We're coming after all the Pauls. And so I comment on social media with like scary big eyes, and him and CW both liked it. But I thought they were coming after me the way they were, you know, and they were going to kick all the Paul's asses.
But see, he did. It wasn't a wrestling promo. It was very entertaining, and I judge him, you know, harsh as anybody. That was something that when it's done, you went, well, that was entertaining. And it was, and he came up with all that himself. And
he nailed it.
You know, that's some, you know, sometimes you have to think outside the box to keep the interest of the audience. And I feel like he did a really good job. His best work on the mic to date.
I totally agree. That's standout. That stands out in your mind. You want somebody and so that's exactly what I thought when I was listening to it. So really, really proud and excited to see him. I just thought it was funny.
Let me call on our audience if you didn't see it, pull it up.
Yeah.
Take a look. Let us know what you thought. And hey, we're open to any suggestions. Anything's going to make any facet of our product, whether it's Brock's Wrestling, whether it's you and I doing the podcast, whether it's wrestling events, WrestleCons, what you name it. If you have a suggestion, hey, why don't you do this? Or why don't you try that? Whether we'll jump all over it and you'll get credit for it. We aim to please. We're a family. It's all inclusive, and we're here to entertain each other. So
that's so true. And we got some entertaining characters that follow and support this show. And so let's take care of some of those folks. They're here. This is an engaging. One of the bonuses of moving to this platform that we did last year was we wanted it to be live and sit around the virtual living room of Arn Anderson. So I'm going to the super chat before we jump into September 1995. And we kick it off with Michael Jensen. And he said, I know this isn't Ask Arn, but I was hoping to get Arn's thoughts on the Rumble. I'm watching knowing Cena is winning and then Jey Uso wins. It was awesome to watch and great storytelling. So Arn, what were your thoughts on the Rumble?
That type of win usually elevates a guy to the next level. And I hope that's what happens, because the Usos have, you know, my experience with them every single time is they're pros. They work their ass off. They're tremendous talents. And to see a guy that has moved up the ranks and had a big win like that, when you win the Royal Rumble, buddy, you are launched into superstardom. And I think they swerved everybody. I don't think anybody picked Uso to win that. And we'll see what the Elimination Chamber has to offer. That will open up some more interesting situations.
For sure. And to your point, I mean, the guy, as soon as his music hits with the yeet, the crowd I think they've showed a clip on social media of Triple H kind of in the back, glasses on, seeing him win and how the crowd reacted. And he was like, nailed it. You know, they got the crowd reaction. And so now they strapped the rocket on Jey. So let's see what happens.
Well, and Hunter the expression on his face was, that worked, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's what was going through his mind. So, you know, the talent success is his success and vice versa.
So Darren Staley, longtime friend of the show, he wants to know, when you go to a steakhouse like you did in Indianapolis, who buys dinner, Arn or Brock?
Who do you think?
Daddy Warbucks.
He is tighter than Dick's hat band. Although he will not spend a nickel unless it's on somebody's birthday or Christmas, and then he's pretty generous. But he didn't reach for his wallet, not even attempt to ease up off of it.
He's got those crocodile arms, is what you're saying. When that's
correct.
Hey, you know what though? I'd expect the same from my boys when they get that age. So it's just how it is. It is how it is.
It is anything I spend on that young'un, he's got it coming. That's for sure.
I know that. Yeah, I know nothing makes you smile broader than to spend some money on your son and him love and enjoy every minute of it. You know.
And my wife, and
Sure.
it's anything within reason that I have the capacity to provide. It's all theirs.
Speaking of which, I think we need to do another date. Me, you, Brock, maybe Aaron, at Jimmy's Famous one of these days. Just saying, just putting that out there.
Yeah, who picked up the check that night?
Oh, you did. Oh, that's right. Daddy Warbucks, Arn Anderson. He took care of us there too.
Damn.
I know.
I'm a pushover.
A guy. Yep.
And they were one of our sponsors too at the time, right?
What's that?
They were one of our sponsors.
They had advertised on the Arn Show. That's right. You'd think they would have said, "Hey, here."
I thought they were going to cut me a little break on that.
Yeah,
Chizik.
Yeah, especially when when you saw you paid for refills on the Cokes. I mean, come on. Just kidding, Jimmy's. You guys were great. The food is tremendous.
I'm teasing.
I know.
It was excellent.
All right, let's go back. We'll wrap up some of these super chats and then start with this. Let's see here. Eddie Prather. I think we talked about this. Arn and Paul, how about that Super Bowl beatdown? We did talk about it, Eddie. It was something
ugly.
Something else. Yambag Jones. Oh my word, here he is. Kansas City.
He just ain't gonna let it go, is he?
KC did their best Elegante impression.
Oh
he is addicted to that guy with you.
Yeah. I wish he was still around and could chop you one time.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Oh man. All right. And Daisy Mama this is the perfect segue into the Nitro era. Daisy Mama, we're coming to you next, and then we're going to jump in. What were your thoughts, Arn, about Nitro? Let me flash it up on the screen. She's a paying customer here. What are your thoughts about Nitro starting 3 minutes before the hour to give away the results of Raw? Now, we know that would come in time as Nitro would continue on, but what did you think of that strategy?
Starting a couple of minutes early?
Yes, and give away some of the results on what they're going to see on Raw because it was taped.
Well, there's been a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking about that, giving away results of matches. I do think starting a couple of minutes early was a good idea.
Yeah.
Because people are switching channels when they know it's time, especially when they know that there's a war fixing to go down. So I would think people would be sitting down and getting ready to watch the show, get their beverages, get their food, get their snacks, whatever, get set up couple minutes before the show. They don't want to miss the open because it's all brand new territory. So it's possible right off the get-go you may miss something. Starting a little bit early would help you with that first quarter hour, I would think.
Well, let's talk about it, and we're going to jump in. It is September. This is what we've advertised on the show to talk about. It's the big kickoff. It's Monday Nitro. Ted Turner gives Eric Bischoff the green light to go ahead and go head-to-head with WWE. No more small studio tapings. WCW is going live. Arn, all of a sudden, now WCW is going to go live every Monday night. This is something they've never done before. Studio tapings, sure. Live show every Monday night. Thoughts when you hear that this is now the direction and then that this is where you're headed from a travel schedule? From what are you thinking production-wise? Is there any concerns from the wrestlers, from an organizational standpoint? What were your thoughts back then when you heard this?
Well, before you had any information, or a proven track record of a few weeks to know, okay, how is this live thing, I know you don't get a second chance at live TV. Once something happens, you got a 7-second delay, and then it's gone. It's in the archives. So I was apprehensive because it could be anything from a missed camera shot that was critical to a talent saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, all kind of no-nos that now you had no control over. Either the talent observed the rules and stuck to what the company policy was, or they didn't, and you didn't have any control over it.
The first Nitro is completely unopposed, so WWF's preempted. It was so fun. So doing research for this month, 4 Nitros. The first one is in Minneapolis, Mall of America. You're seeing Hogan talking about Pasta Mania. Did you ever have any pasta from Pasta Mania?
No. What was the date of that show? Do you know? September.
It was September the 4th, 1995.
Okay.
Yep. And it just looked cool. It looked cool the way they had the whole thing set up camera wise. Can you recall anything about just being there? Anything that you want to share with the fans about just being there that day, walking out the day of? Did you go walk around the ring, just scope out what it was like? Talk to us about the experience.
Yeah, and the way it was, it looked like from a distance, because there was 3 or 4 levels.
Yeah.
In that mall, and it looked like a prison movie for just a second.
True.
Seeing everybody, if you think about it, everybody standing up there, it was like Escape from New York or something, until you focused in and went, okay, there's the ring, there's wrestlers, there's a bunch of people. There was a ton of people there hanging out, watching it too. It was cool.
Yeah, very cool. As I said, it was an hour. It would eventually go to 2 hours. And then, as we know, it would go to 3 hours once it really, took off and became a juggernaut. And the success would lead to Thunder. But there was so much programming. I was watching Nitro. They're advertising Sunday main event. They're still advertising Saturday night wrestling. You had the advertisement for Fall Brawl. There's plenty of content. It makes me think of today's era of wrestling, of when you have Raw on all their shows, or WWE all their shows, AEW all their shows. You can really start to see the content that WCW was putting together and pushing out. Thoughts on Eric Bischoff, because this is really where Eric Bischoff is the face. He's the guy. He's leading Nitro. He's the main guy on the stick. It's not Tony Schiavone at this point. Do you think him as the outside perspective really helped lead WCW? As hey, he's not a traditional wrestling guy. Do you think that his perspective really helped aid in this resurgence, I guess, for WCW?
Well, he had, any way you look at it, he had a fresh perspective. He had a whole different outlook on what he wanted to do. He had the NWO, which bled into Hulk Hogan being a heel for first time in a very, very long time. Some people think it was the only time. I think he was a heel in maybe AWA or maybe WWF or something. Mm-hmm. Wasn't the first time, but it was the first time since he became Hulk Hogan and he was this eat your vitamins and all that mess. When you've got that card to play, you're turning him heel, and those guys, man, you had a once in a lifetime opportunity to do something that had never been done.
It was incredible, and as I sat there and watched it, to think of what it would become, knowing how the story unfolded, and to take a risk, like that.
Tell me how you felt when one of the announcers said Hulk Hogan's here. I think it was Heenan, and you'll never forget it. But Schiavone said, "You're damn right he is." Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And he went, "Okay, here's the save. Here it is." Boy, was it the farthest from the truth.
This is also the show, and we're going to get into this a little bit more, but where you started to realize this isn't the same old live or wrestling TV shows, because there's surprises throughout the month. There's title changes. We'll talk about that a little bit. And the first show here, your commentary, I'll get into it a little bit more here. Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, and Steve Mongo McMichael is now brought in as part of the commentary team. So you have, I guess, someone who's now part of the team who kind of brings in that mainstream sports appeal, former Chicago Bear, to try to drive a little bit more attention, I guess, right, to the product, to the show with Mongo. And it's immediately fun because him and Heenan already have that clash going on back and forth, that banter, that fun banter that we all love, that Bobby the Brain Heenan is such an expert at. So they're the commentary team to kick things off. And the first match, I don't know that it gets any better than this, is Brian Pillman against Jushin Thunder Liger. Fast-paced guys. They open up that live crowd, and it just seems to be a genius move from Eric Bischoff right away.
And it really was. And that was a good choice to start the new product off with, because it wasn't something that you saw all the time back then. I mean, it was a high spot match. And there's rotten high spot matches where nobody sells nothing. And there are great high spot matches where they have endings to spots that you never saw coming. It's impossible to gauge what's coming next and predict what you're fixing to see. And that was a great way to start the new product.
We have a couple. I'll hit a couple other highlights, and I'll talk a little bit more about them. We then see Flair versus Sting. It ends in a disqualification. The real story here: Luger shocks the world. You remember when Luger came down the aisle? He shows up after wrestling in the WWF just the night before. Then you jump on Flair during that match, and that was more about advancing the storyline. But man, you got a major pop jumping on Flair that night. And in the main event, Hogan versus Big Bubba ends with Luger confronting Hogan, demanding a title shot. And so here we go, that cliffhanger. It's Luger, saying, hey, next week, I want a shot for the title with Hogan. And they're saying, yep, we're going to give it to you. So, man, what a hot way to start Monday Nitro.
Nobody was on WWF and then WCW the next week. Nobody. Because they had 90-day rollovers and a lot of contracts. Apparently, Lex did not. They let his lapse. And it was just one of those things that, oh, shit, wonder why somebody didn't catch that,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Lex was a big star. And when he walked out on that TV, it changed everything.
Arn, I want to get your take on a few things. Steve Mongo McMichael, do you remember his Chihuahua Pepe?
I do.
Did you love it or would you leave it?
I'm a dog person. I would love it. Love it.
Love it. Love it.
And let me just say this. Mongo is in the fight of his life right now. And he is a hell of a man. But I just want to say, we love you, Mongo. You'll never, ever be anything but a Horseman, as well as a Chicago Bear. And, man, just hang in there. Fight the fight.
Mm. You talk about someone who has been hanging in there and just giving it his all, with the fight. So well said, Arn, for sure. And it was so cool because just to see, again, that first Nitro, here he was, and then to realize that he would become a Horseman down the road. So it was just fun to see how this all started and evolved. I mentioned Brian Pillman and Liger. Hot match. As you said, it was the right move. Here's the thing that I want to mention about Flair Sting. This is a fun fact, which I know most of you are already aware of. Flair Sting wrestled on the first Clash of Champions, the first Nitro, and the last Nitro. Wow. So how's that?
What a spread.
Yeah.
What a spread of time. And it's obviously that's, Rick's the ultimate asshole heel. Sting is the lead babyface for the company, and it's like that's a no-brainer. But the fact that it was still relevant when they had the last match is mind-blowing.
Let's go over to Luger. I mentioned that he wrestled with the WWF the night before. How important do you think, Arn, the element of surprise was in Nitro's success overall? Because that wouldn't be the last surprise. We know that. We remember people coming through the crowd and Scott Hall, and there was always these types of surprises. How important do you think that was to the success?
I love surprises because it you know why? It plays into good storytelling. And good storytelling is and will always be what draws money. Anybody can go up there and knock each other down for 20 minutes and beat the crap out of each other. But it's the storytelling, the story. What, okay, I'm mad at you, but why? What is it? And those type things are what keep our family intact. That means wrestling fans, wrestlers, production people, having that common thread of story that just makes you feel something for the guys involved.
And I'll even take it one step further. It's not only the element of surprise, because I think sometimes nowadays in current wrestling, music hits and the next guy comes out or girl comes out that just jumped ship. It's the story getting to the surprise, or you know what I mean? Like it's got to be something impactful when the surprise happens, just not somebody's music hitting and they come out and, oh, okay, yeah, I knew their contract was up. And it feels like sometimes it's now overdone and we're starting to get numb to some of the wrestler changes.
Well, there's only so many ways to do that. Guys or girls just showing up. I mean, it's probably everyone just about you can think of has been done already. So you gotta, I think you're better off saying, okay, they're coming, but in case you didn't watch this show, here's why. And here's who they are.
Yeah.
Because everybody doesn't watch everything and know who everybody is.
So well said.
I don't. And I'm assuming I'm part of the majority.
Did you know that Luger was coming in that night, or was it a surprise to you too?
It was a surprise to me too. And in those days, guys were professional and they kept it quiet. And a lot of times we would keep them not even in the building. They would be next door at a hotel or somewhere where there was no chance of anybody seeing them. So it was really a true surprise.
I love to hear that. I love to hear when and you don't mind being surprised like that as the boys, right?
It's professionalism.
Yeah.
I'm not offended. It's professionalism.
Yeah.
Because, all guys got to do is just, they can be talking about it and be in their locker room, and a guy goes by that's there for whatever reason. He's selling popcorn or he's sweeping up or whatever it is, and here's the conversation. He's on the phone to his buddy. His buddy's on his phone to the other buddy. Before you know it, it's out there. Somebody calls Meltzer, and you're off and running.
Arn, you and Flair, you attacked him at the end of that match, but it wasn't about saving Sting in that match. It was all about, getting the fall brawl and setting up that vitriol hate, for lack of a better word, between the two of you. Just you were throwing lefts, and I wish you could watch it. I wish we could show clips like we used to.
I don't remember that.
Oh man, you went after him, and down the aisle, Doug Dillinger had to break you up. Did you expect fans to cheer you when you went after Flair like that? Because they did.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
I thought they looked at Rick being at one level and me being another, and it wasn't necessarily so.
Yeah. Well, we talked about how the show wrapped up. Hogan wins. Dungeon of Doom attacks. Luger makes the save. He and Hogan go face to face. We got the cliffhanger for the title the next week. I mean, it's a perfect way to get into week 2, don't you think? When you are going against the WWF the next week. Yep.
Reel them in.
For those that are listening only, he did the old fish hook.
That's right. Hook them and reel them in, and have it where when that show goes off the air, I am dying for more, not less, more.
Well, we continue on because it's the Build the Fall Brawl. Fall Brawl was this month as well. And you had the Dungeon of Doom versus Hogan's team. You had Hogan, Savage, Sting, and the plan was for Vader. But we all know that Vader, according to storyline, went AWOL. Arn, you outlined what AWOL was 2 shows ago, and that was the backstage incident with Orndorff. So they have to figure out a storytelling or some kind of something to share at Nitro, the next Nitro, to say, hey, Vader's no longer a part of the team. So they tell us he's gone AWOL, and now Team Hogan is down a man. And so now all of a sudden we're going to have to try to figure out what's going to happen. So at the second Nitro, there is, all the guys are in the ring. Hogan and Luger are fighting each other for that world championship. And the Dungeon of Doom runs in, attacks Hogan, doesn't touch Luger, but does a beatdown on Hogan until Savage and Sting come in to make the save. And once they do, they all get up in the ring and are talking to Mean Gene Okerlund. And Luger stands up at this point, and Savage and Hogan get on the mic and they say, "What's your deal, Luger? Where do you stand? Who do you stand with?" And so Sting gets on the mic and stands up for Luger and says, "Listen, we're down Vader. I think it makes sense, with Vader out of the picture, let's bring Luger on the team." So all of a sudden, you're starting to see the storytelling unfold. They ultimately decide to go with Luger, which Savage was opposed to, by the way. Hogan was for it, Sting was for it, so they chose to go with Luger. But think about this team, all right? Savage, Hogan, Luger, and Sting. This is like a dream team when you think about it from star power.
Should be unbeatable. There's
really,
nothing at that time you could have put together that had a chance against those guys. I'm gonna do you one better though. How cool would it have been if they told the story of Vader and Orndorff just like it happened? The build in the afternoon. I mean, make it a couple of 3 weeks of here's what really happened, and tell everybody exactly what happened. You're talking about a look behind the curtain without hurting anything business-wise. How cool would that have been? Because it was one of the most breathtaking things I've ever seen out of a couple of guys that were at a different level as killers.
So you're saying come on the air, you're Eric Bischoff, and say, "Listen, WCW has decided to yank Vader from this match due to a backstage incident with Paul Orndorff." Like, just go right into it?
And yep, and then we will have more information when we're able. And you go through the show and you just don't hear anything. You open the next show the next week. I told you we were going to have more information, but legalities stood in the way. This and that and the other lawyers got involved. But you know what? The lawyers don't run our show. We do. And here's what happened after that. And you tell the absolute truth, because it was something that was never happen again, probably.
Man, that would, you talk about a peek behind the curtain, but man, that would have been ratings.
Talking about a quarter hour.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And you know what? I think future Bischoff, like future Nitro Bischoff, would have probably done that.
If somebody would have suggested it to him that he trusted, maybe.
And maybe it was a legal thing with Turner as to why he could, too, if he wanted to try. Who knows what those conversations were like? But man, that would have been something for sure, instead of just saying AWOL.
Well, you could have Paul in the back and be interviewed, and him just tell it the way it went down from his perspective.
This is also the month, too, where Gary Spivey comes in to help him restate. Do you remember this whole bit where Gary Spivey helps Paul Orndorff remember that he's Mr. Wonderful, and he has new music, and he comes out with a mirror and a new jacket, and he has new music. Wonderful. And he had like that self-help guy, or Gary Spivey, that came back and talked to him, and Paul was looking in the mirror at himself. He was like, "I see you. There's a vision. You are wonderful. You are wealthy," and all these things, and kind of rebuild his brand. Do you remember all that they did with him?
I wish I could remember that.
No, you don't. Trust me.
Who is Gary Spivey?
He was like some kind of soothsayer.
It was a work, right?
It was all part of the show. It was a gimmick. I think he was a real person who was
self-help guy or something.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what his official title was, but he was like read the stars or saw vision. I forget what they're called, but it was It was something else.
Now remember at that time I was working a lot of top matches, doing finishes, running the shows on the live.
He was a
events.
psychic, Arn. He was a psychic.
I couldn't sit back and enjoy any of the shit that was going on. I probably missed everything.
He was a psychic that they brought in to help Paul Orndorff re-see himself as wonderful.
Or maybe I'm glad I missed it.
And he had a haircut that looked like a white mushroom cap. And he came back there in the bathroom, in the dressing room, and he kind of had a talk with him. It's some corny stuff.
It was rotten, wasn't it?
Oh, it was bad. But then Paul came out now with the mirror that he looked at, like the Smurf did, and in one of the Smurfs, I can't remember which one. And then he had a jacket and he had new music, and it changed Orndorff's. They were trying to give him a push with this, using Gary Spivey the psychic.
Gotcha.
They hadn't shed all the corniness yet. But anyway, so there's that. All right, we're getting off on a tangent. But I talk about Hogan's Dream Team because, listen, they're going to face him at Fall Brawl. But the teams Kamala, Zodiac, Shark, and Ming, we love Ming. But does this not feel like, as fans, you got to feel like Dungeon of Doom doesn't have a chance in hell?
No, matter of fact, I'll go even further. Other than us knowing that Ming would have killed everybody, including his partners, if he chose to, and all the opponents, and half the crowd, should he chose to. But the fact that matchup, they didn't have a chance. It was an enhancement match for Hogan and Sting and all those guys. Savage and Luger. Nobody in the world believed that Dungeon of Doom were going to win that match. Not one soul.
They were struggling for heels, is what it tells me at this point.
And we've talked about that before. Yeah, we failed as a company to be constantly building heels, whether it was stealing them and bringing them in from vets or building them, our own way, like you did Paul White, whatever the way you did it. We always should have had a couple, 3 heels on the side being built, winning every week, waiting on their shot at Hogan or Sting for that matter.
The heavy is going to be the Giant, Paul White. He's coming at the end of Fall Brawl, at the end of the match to attack Hogan. So let's get into Fall Brawl, and we'll talk about the match there. It's Asheville Civic Center, Arm. You're very familiar with Asheville. 6,500 fans. It was September 17th, 1995. So just a few days shy of your birthday in 95. And the match opened Johnny B. Bad, Brian Pillman. It was a 30-minute classic. It got to a point where they had to extend the match, sudden death, for these two, but a great match. And it just showed that Bischoff trusted the younger talent. And so it was great to see. Also on this card, DDP, he won the TV title from another one of your favorites, the Renegade. We covered Renegade a few shows back when he won the belt. He finally dropped the title now to DDP.
Thank God.
Yeah. So he wins that. Harlem Heat wins the tag titles. Sherry and Colonel Robert Parker, man, they were making out in one side of the ring because there were 2 rings. He had so much lipstick on his face, and I thought to myself, good night. But yeah, she was a huge distraction, and they won the belts. They even looked at her like, what are you doing? And she was like, it was my strategy to get you the belts. So that happened. But man, the match to me of the night was you and Rick. Now, they did a video montage, Arn, leading up to it. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but I had to rewind it because at some point they showed how they interviewed Aaron they said it was in your home for the build up to this match. And I was like, holy shit, there's Aaron. And I don't even remember this. Now that I know her, I'm like, I didn't even remember that they had interviewed her as part of this feud. Can you take us through all that entire night, the pre-match moment that never happened before, all this? I think you've talked about it in the early days of the podcast, but can you take us through that?
Well, we did it at the house I lived at the town, at the time. It was first house I'd ever bought, and it was in Charlotte, and they came to the house, And the deal was they came in to like get one of those TMZ scoops from Aaron. She was a little bit overwhelmed. She didn't know she could throw them out. Then I show up at the house and there's camera crew there. And I pretty much just said, hey, this is personal. You know, forget about getting a rating or whatever. I don't remember what the verbiage was, but I threw them out of the house. And it was one of those things, another little something that made it real. Because in those days, you didn't usually have your family on TV.
So you didn't know it was happening, or you did and kind of just acted like it wasn't supposed to?
For real? Of course I knew it was happening.
Okay.
But for the story,
yeah, gotcha.
I come home from wherever I'd been, and I got
them all out. And
camera crew in my house. That was the story, and it felt real enough because it wasn't glamorized or anything. It was just all went down in just the front room of our house, and the conversation wasn't cutting a wrestling promo. It wasn't anything to do with wrestling. It was, look, you're in my house now. You went too far. Get the hell out of here. And that was, I guess, believable. Hope it was.
It was very cool. It was a very cool storytelling piece. Again, they did a nice vignette package to tell the story of you and Flair's friendship, and then how it hit the bumpy ride, how Flair had started to just basically kind of put you out front in all the tag team matches. You would always be taking the beating and the pounding, and then he was never available to tag in at the end and things of that nature, and how you finally got sick of it. You got sick of always being his guy and then him not being there for you when it counted, and then how it, you know, it was time for you to throw a few haymakers at him and give him his just due. And Shivani, it came back to Tony, and after they did the video package, and he really put over, hey, this is going to be a great match between two great professionals here in Asheville, where in the 80s, the boom of the wrestling period, where Flair and Arn really helped carry this business into the next level. And now these two are going to face each other here in this match tonight. And the match delivered. It was an excellent match. Arn, do you have any memories of the match at all?
It's a wrestling match.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't high spot because we weren't high spot guys. We were slugging it out. And, you know, back in those days on a angle like that, when you had on a pay-per-view, and it was, I got to be honest with you, I didn't like doing the angle for the simple reason I don't think when you're as close as we were, and everybody knew we were best friends. Everybody knew, you know, we'd been together through the whole time with the Horsemen thing and the whole deal. I don't think the fans actually believed we were going to try to hurt each other, because it's like when you have brothers that split up, the Hardys they split up, they have a match. Nobody believes they're going to actually cripple their brother. Steiners, you know, name the brothers. You know, people just don't believe you're going to hurt each other. That was a deterrent. But once it got rolling and we tried to tell the story that, hey, I'm not going to walk in your shadow. I'm not going to be second fiddle. I'm either going to be your equal or I'm going to beat the piss out of you tonight, one way or the other.
Arn, a fun moment for me was watching you at the beginning when he's doing his strut. And then, you know, you're doing your little pre-match before you really get into it, kind of jousting back and forth. And then you did something to him, and then you turned to the crowd and you did the woo to the crowd. I was like, look at you, Arn, I see you. But it was all just a mock towards him, and you guys were having fun.
It was just, it was just part of doing things that we knew would rile each other.
Yeah.
Hope it was a good fight. Felt like it was.
Excellent wrestling match. And I would suggest to all of our loyal fans to go back and watch it. Watch it from the vignette, Tony Schiavone's comments, and Heenan's all the way through the match, and you will not be disappointed. Now, at the end of the match, Brian Pillman gets involved. Now, this is, as we'll see this unfold, it's part of the story, the evolving storyline, but Pillman gets involved, kicks Flair in the head. Ref isn't looking.
From the apron, yeah.
Yep. Ref isn't looking. Flair stumbles towards you. You grab Flair, straight down DDT for the pin 1, 2, 3. And that's how the match ends. You beat Flair there, and then Pillman would challenge. I mean, Flair would challenge Pillman at Nitro, and they would fight. And there would be some other matchups that happened to eventually an involvement of the Horsemen getting back together, and we'll cover that in a few months. That's down the road towards Halloween Havoc and other events, and Pillman becoming a Horseman. And so we'll talk more about that. But this is fun. I understand what you're saying about you being so close and brothers, but two guys that you never thought would battle it out, do so here. And it's a classic wrestling match, the way it should be. And so if you're studying to be a wrestler or a wrestler, I think this is a good one to go back and watch.
And I may be wrong. This is another one for our audience and our family. Did you actually think we were going to get in there and hey, if I had to bite his nose off or bite a digit of his finger off, did you think that was going to happen? There's a possibility that would happen? Or did you think, hey, we may pull up a little bit short of doing what we would do to somebody else that wasn't as close as he and I were? I may be way off and may be wrong about that. It's a good question for our audience.
Yeah, for sure. No, let us know what you think. Before we conclude, guys, another title change occurs on Nitro this month in September. And that is, yes, I said the Harlem Heat won the tag titles at Fall Brawl, but then they'd lose the tag team titles the same month to the American Males, Marcus Bagwell and Scotty Riggs, longtime listener of this show. And it's the first ever title change on Nitro. So there you go. It happens in September. And this makes 4 tag team title reigns with 3 different partners for Bagwell at this point. He won the first one with Too Cold Scorpio. And then he won with Stars and Stripes when he was with the Patriot.
Yep.
And so now here he is with Scotty Riggs. So first title change right here, tag team titles, the American Males. So pretty cool.
I'm a big fan of those. Him and Riggs and Bagwell were a really good team. Good baby faces. Sold great, looked great, whole ball of wax.
It's an exciting time, guys. This is going to be fun covering the Nitro years and the months as we continue on down this journey. Not only Nitros, pay-per-views, a lot to go through. And we're doing one show a month on each of these months. So we're going to cover the high points, especially when it involves ARN, and then continue to do these Ask ARN Anythings. I'm going to go to the Super Chats to wrap us up. But I do want to remind you that we're going to be back together again, Arn. Hopefully this is good for you. We didn't get a chance because we were working out technical difficulties. Are you good Tuesday the 25th at 6 p.m. Eastern, Arn? Is your calendar open on Tuesday, February 25th? Do you have your calendar in front of you? I think that would keep us on schedule.
I will make it work.
It's totally up to you. I think that'll keep us on schedule, but I want to make sure it doesn't mess anything up for you. But sounds like Arn's game to do it. We'll get together on Tuesday the 25th. It'll be Ask Arn Almost Anything. And so bring your questions, almost anything, should I say, the caveat that you have. We'll have a good time. You guys keep it entertaining. And before we wrap it up, speaking of keeping it entertaining, let's go back to Darren Staley. He has a super chat for us. We want to get all our super chat questions in. He says, using Monday Nitro as opposed to Monday Night Raw seems a great play on words. Night Raw, Nitro. Does AA know if the alliteration was intentional? Night Raw, Nitro, Night Raw, Nitro.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think it was intent. I don't either. I've not heard that before, but I could see where you might think.
Good question. It's a very
Yeah.
good question.
Not bad, Darren.
Yeah,
Really
nice.
thought into that for a change.
But I think somebody just threw it out there that, it sounded good, and let's go with it.
Yeah.
No brilliance needed.
Right. All right. Good stuff here. Let's see. Darren with another question. All right, here we go. Let's throw it up here. I think Arn out of the ring is a bad use of Arn. So I think let me see, when would he have said that? Because we were going over some serious material. Can you give me any context, Darren? Looking for context on that one, and then that might make a little bit more sense. Last thing I say here is LOL. No, that's not the context. Oh, Oh, when he was wrestling out of the ring. Oh, so he thinks you staying in the ring was always ideal versus you wrestling outside of the ring. What say you on that?
Are they saying they just preferred my wrestling ability other than my brawling ability? Is that what am I reading that the wrong way?
No, I think he's saying that having you in the ring is where you excelled, just your technical wrestling, versus being outside of the ring, the brawling style, I don't know, anything can kind of go wrong outside of the ring type deal. I'm trying to.
Or unless he's talking about when I
He
was.
said yes. What you're assuming is right.
Okay, yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
You know, you got to remember the Andersons, and to this day, it's still a legitimate storyline. Used to grab an arm and wear it down till a guy would quit, and this was before tap outs, and you know what I mean. This was before UFC, and guy would tap out or give up or any of that. You very seldom, other than like a figure four or something like that, did you have a guy give up. So wrestling in the ring, you could make it interesting, taking an arm and just wearing it out.
The final question we have, which I think this is a great question, especially if you can remember kind of what the situation was back then. Was there ever talk of Lex Luger rejoining the Horsemen? So we said that they would have the Horsemen. Was that ship had sailed, huh?
Gone. Moving on.
Got it.
Let me just say this, since Tully is current again, and you know, people are thinking about him and remembering there was no second place trying to replace Tully Blanchard. You know, when we tried to do that and that didn't work, there was nothing you could have put in that spot. I don't care who it is, other than Tully, and it been as good as it once was. But I do feel we could have picked up where we left off and ran right on with it.
For sure. And I also think probably they had designs with Luger just being kind of his own guy and doing his own single star type thing, not being a part of another group.
Yep.
Especially how you saw that they used Pillman and Benoit. Those were the next two as a vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah.
All good. Hey, guys, great questions. Love having you here, guys and gals. I saw Amy was here tonight with us and Andrew, our research guy. And I want to thank Marcus and Dom for all their help that they continue to do to support the show. And just so many of you that are here with us faithfully, and CG and Ryan and Darth Payne and so many. And I know we don't get to all your questions. A lot of you are just conversating through the chat. But on shows like these once a month, we have a lot of material to get through. So I appreciate y'all hanging in and being a part of this. And some first timers I saw in the chat had just stumbled across the YouTube channel, and Villain Edits. OMG, I can't believe I've stumbled across this on YouTube. Arn Anderson, absolute one of my favorite wrestlers ever. Such a legend. And so
thank you, sir.
Yeah, very cool. And just so happy to have all of you guys that are with us here faithfully, and the ones that are finding us now. Mr. JAO says Arn Anderson is one of the greatest ever ring technician and mic workers ever. Facts. And so
tell all your buddies about it, guys. If you're new and you just found out that we're around, tell your buddies about it.
Yes, thank you all for being here so much. Great to see some of the folks that have come back, haven't been in here for a while. Yambag Jones, always great to have you. Never know what you're going to say next, and so many others. Mouthpiece Murphys. I know I'm going to forget names, but we've had a pleasure of having you here. February 25th, Tuesday night, 6 Eastern. Come on back and see us around the virtual living room. We get to pick the Arn's brain if I can get it out. And hopefully I'll be feeling a little bit better by then. And I'm looking forward to it, Arn. Thank you so much for doing this with me tonight.
Hope you feel better, buddy.
Appreciate you. On behalf of the Enforcer, Arn Anderson, this is Paul Bromwell, and we'll see you back here in 2 weeks on Arn.